Welcome back to the crypto world. My name is Josh, and right now the Bitcoin price is actually replicating a pattern that we were forming in previous bull cycles. This is going to be really important for Bitcoin holders to pay attention to, and also later in the video I'll be looking at the parabolic stop and reverse indicator. And also today was the first day in over a month that Bitcoin has now plunged into fear. I'll be explaining exactly what that means for the Bitcoin price later in the video, so once again definitely make sure you're watching this video all the way to the end so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe with the notifications turned on so that you're not missing out on any of these future videos. As always, I post these update videos every day here on the channel. So just by subscribing and having notifications turned on, which only takes you a couple seconds, and obviously it's completely for free, you're going to be getting all of this valuable content every day here on the channel. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame. And if you've been watching my recent videos here on the channel, after we saw that crash to the downside nearly 2 days ago now, I pretty much immediately let you guys know in my next update video that it's actually very likely for the Bitcoin price to be consolidating sideways here in the short term and basically entering just a short-term price range. So that's exactly what we have been forming over the past couple days after the crash once again. Now, at the time of filming this video, the Bitcoin price is seeing just a small gain to the upside in the immediate short term at the moment. Zooming into the 2-hour time frame, that is simply a result of this very small inverse head and shoulders pattern. You really even need to zoom into the 1-hour time frame to actually see that pattern, as you can see. And so yeah, we're seeing a small breakout to the upside. If this actually meets the technical price target, then technically this price target's coming in closer towards 48,000. But as I've been saying constantly after that crash just there, once again, I actually do not expect an immediate recovery out of this correction. If we are going to recover all the way back up towards these highs at around 52 to 53,000, the recovery will most likely take at least 1 to 2 weeks at the minimum, and possibly up towards around a month in length. And I'll explain exactly why that's the case in just a moment in the video, so make sure you keep watching. But yeah, zooming out to the daily time frame, once again, it's great to see that we are finding supports along the 50-day exponential moving average. Previously, we have found massive supports along this moving average when we have been looking really bullish here on the daily time frame, talking about the major uptrends once again. So this yellow line just here, once again, that is the 50-day EMA, and that is a significant moving average that I am paying attention to for Bitcoin right now. It's coming in at around 45,200, just above 45k. But a moving average that is probably more significant than that 50-day EMA is this green line just here. This is the 21-week simple moving average. And of course, the subscribers on this channel would already know about this moving average. I have covered it quite a lot recently. And also the longer term subscribers would know, because I actually covered this moving average all the way back here during May as we were breaking below, because of course, if we break below this moving average, that's when we're entering into much more of a bearish time in the market. And right now, the fact that we've seen almost a perfect retest of this moving average with this wick to the downside in that crash that we saw a couple days ago, once again, this is actually amazing to see this hold. And while we are above the 21-week moving average, we are actually looking really good here on the daily time frame. It's only if we start seeing a major break below that moving average, that's when I will be flipping much more bearish on the Bitcoin price. But of course, I covered a lot of that in yesterday's video in more detail. So for the brand new viewers on the channel that missed my video just yesterday on the channel, definitely check that one out if you want a further explanation on what I was just talking about here, because obviously I don't want to be repeating the same things over and over for the people that are subscribed to this channel. But yeah, getting into some brand new information in regards to this 21-week moving average and this crash that we saw a couple days ago now. When you're zooming all the way out here on the daily time frame and looking back at this area on the chart during August, September, and October 2020, as you can see, for quite a while, the Bitcoin price was trading above the 21-week moving average, and we were actually seeing a lot of sideways price action leading into a flash crash right into the 21-week moving average. And we actually saw multiple bounces along that exact moving average for Bitcoin. That meant that we were due for some very bullish price action that came next for Bitcoin, and of course that played out, as you can see. So if we're just looking at this area on the charts just as a reference point for a potential recovery that we could expect out of this crash that we saw around 2 days ago, if we're simply just copying the candlesticks from back then and actually bringing that over to the current price of Bitcoin, as you can see here, without changing anything, just straight copied from last time and actually taking a look at what's happening this time, once again, we saw pretty much the same size crash into the 21-week moving average. So far, we've seen a very strong bounce along the 21-week moving average, but as far as this previous recovery suggests, this previous fractal that was in the charts, this suggests that the Bitcoin price could have a slow recovery back to the upside. So if the Bitcoin price right now does pretty much the same thing as what happened the last time the price actually retested the 21-week moving average, then this would suggest a recovery that would take roughly around a month. In fact, a little bit over a month before we get up to these highs again. Talking about that $52,000 to $53,000 price range just there where we actually topped out just recently. So obviously take this with a grain of salt. I'm not actually expecting things to play out the exact same as last time, but this is just to give you an idea of what we could expect moving forward. But this also rests on the shoulders of the fact that we hold the 21-week moving average. Obviously, if we do actually break that moving average, once again, as I just explained earlier, and as I explained in yesterday's video, that will be bearish. So Bitcoin right now really is in a deciding moment. And another time where this has actually played out in the Bitcoin price was looking all the way back in 2013, the first major Bitcoin bull market after obviously the first halving that we saw during November 2012. This bull market was actually a two-phase bull market. We obviously had the first massive phase in the bull market, and then we actually entered quite a long bearish time in the market, almost like a mini bear market in the middle of a bull market, where we actually dipped below the 21-week moving average. And by the way, what's really interesting about this first half is the first half of the 2013 Bitcoin bull market, if you want to measure it from, say, this low just here, started at around October, November 2012. But just remember that time of the year. So once again, around October, November. And then we continued to pump all the way up to the upside, and we actually topped out at an all-time high for Bitcoin at that stage during April 2013. So once again, just remember that month. Around October, November was where we actually started the major surge to the upside, and then it was around April where we reached the all-time high at that stage for Bitcoin. And then we entered a multi-month bearish trend in the Bitcoin price where we were actually below the 21-week moving average for quite some time during the middle of the 2013 bull market. And what's very interesting is we actually reached the bottom just here during July 2013. So once again, remember that as well. We started at around October, November, topped out in around April, and bottomed out in around July in the 2013 bull market. And now looking at the current Bitcoin price, looking at the current price action, as you can see here, we actually started this entire bull market. If you want to go from where we really started surging to the upside here, that was in around October, November 2020. And where did we top out for the Bitcoin price? Well, we actually reached the all-time high in the middle of April, just like what we saw during 2013. And then we entered this multi-month bearish time in the market. And this multi-month bearish trend in the market actually reached a bottom during July 2021. Once again, we're seeing all of the same things play over again and again here in the markets. And then obviously we broke back above the 21-week moving average, and then we had a harsh correction straight into the moving average. And so far we've seen a bounce along that 21-week moving average. Looking back in 2013, as you can see, after we bottomed out in around July, we eventually got back above the 21-week moving average. We actually went sideways for quite a little bit in the Bitcoin price. And then as you can see here, you cannot make this up. This is back in that 2013 bull market. Once again, we had a pretty harsh correction, pretty much a flash crash straight into the 21-week moving average, got almost a perfect bounce along that moving average. Now, keep in mind, back then, we actually saw quite a speedy recovery out of that one. So obviously the times were different a little bit. There's going to be some small differences in the chart, obviously. But once again, what we need to take away here is the fact that we actually came back down, retested the 21-week moving average. And as soon as we did that and held it as support, then it was blast off for the Bitcoin price. And you can actually see what happened next. So now looking at the present day, I'm sure you can now see some similarities playing out in the Bitcoin chart. And that is why it is really important for the Bitcoin price to hold above this 21-week moving average, which once again, right now it's coming in at roughly around 42,500 US dollars, but obviously it's changing over time. So I'll keep you guys updated on this moving average. And if you're wondering, well, what about the 2017 bull market? During that year as well, during that major bull market, we actually saw multiple retests pretty much exactly along the 21-week moving average. And every time we bounced along this moving average, as you can see, we saw huge pumps that came in the following months. But keep in mind that as well, during 2017, these corrections that we saw into the 21-week moving average, they also took a decent amount of time to actually recover back to the highs. So for example, this one that we saw pretty much at the beginning of 2017, that one took around 40 days to recover back to the high just there. This next one that we saw during around March, April 2017, that one also took around 1 month to recover back to its previous highs. This correction that we saw during around July 2017 into the 21-week moving average, that one took around 3 weeks to actually recover to the upside. The following one took around 4 weeks to recover to the upside, nearly exactly 1 month, as you can see. So basically, to summarize everything that I just said in that portion of the video, Bitcoin has actually seen this sort of price action time and time again throughout its entire price history. This is seriously nothing new, especially the downside price action. This is perfectly normal for Bitcoin, even during a bull market or during an uptrend. Just for as long as we're holding this moving average, we're still looking pretty good here on the daily time frame. Also looking at the parabolic stop and reverse indicator on the weekly time frame. As you can see, this indicator, the parabolic stop and reverse indicator, is what it's called. Once again, this basically just shows us the major trends in the market. So right now, obviously, this is still in the green just here, showing that we are still in a weekly uptrend for the Bitcoin price. And for us to really break into much more of a bearish time period on the weekly chart, we would need to break the green dots just here. And right now, they're coming in at around 33,000 US dollars approximately. Now, obviously, if we came back below the 21-week moving average and these green dots keep heading higher, then we would break below them at a higher price. But right now, we are still looking pretty decent here on the bigger picture so far. And now jumping into the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, right now, we have actually seen the first fear reading in over a month. Once again, throughout this entire time period just here, we have been sitting in the greed, and it was only a few days ago, pretty much just before the crash, when we had this one last pump to the upside, we actually flipped into extreme greed. And of course, I covered that here on the channel, and I said that the fact that we were sitting in extreme greed, that is actually a very bearish sign that should be sending alarm bells of a crash or some sort of bearish price action sometime soon. And of course, that's what we saw recently just here, and this has now put us into fear, which is actually amazing to see. Because if you remember, the last time that we were sitting in fear, we were actually all the way down here. And in fact, towards the end of this time period just here, talking about, around July 2021, when we were actually bottoming out for the Bitcoin price, getting ready for the next major move, right there, before we saw the bullish price action, we were sitting in extreme fear. So if we do end up seeing extreme fear in this indicator just here, that is how you know that we are getting ready for a major bullish move pretty soon. Now, at the moment, this indicator is only slightly in the fear. It's almost more neutral, if anything. But if the fear and greed index actually flips further into the fear zone, and if it even makes it towards the extreme fear, obviously that doesn't have to happen, but if we do see extreme fear, then I will be going heavy into Bitcoin, exactly like what I was saying last time we were sitting in extreme fear throughout this entire time period just here. Once again, if you're on the channel over the last few months, I was letting you guys know that I was heavily buying into Bitcoin at around 30,000 US dollars. So of course, this indicator doesn't really tell us exactly how bullish or bearish we're going to be and exactly how long we're going to be bullish or bearish, but it is a great indicator to just tell us the market sentiment right now, because anytime we're seeing an extreme on this indicator, usually that is a good sign that we are due for some sort of reversal in the short term. Now, one last thing to wrap up this video, I haven't actually seen anyone else talk about this. It could be a bit of a stretch, but I thought I've seen it, I may as well lay it out on the table to see what you guys think about it. While looking at the daily Bitcoin time frame, I've noticed that this bearish price action, what we've seen just here, is actually very similar to the complete opposite of what we were seeing just here before that major crash in May. As you can see, what we saw during June, July, and August just here was basically just an inverted version of what we saw in the beginning of this year. And to actually reveal the similarities between those two times just there, let's bring out the candlestick pattern that we saw since the beginning of this year, all the way up towards that low in around the middle of July just here, as you can see. And then when we actually invert that price action and drag it over to the recent price action, as you can see, we actually have some similarities. Now, obviously, this is not perfect. It could even be a little bit of a stretch, but when you're just kind of looking at the similarities between the two, as you can see, we saw this dump in around the end of April 2021, and then we saw it bounce back to the upside, but not as high as the all-time high, and then that major crash during May. Now, keep in mind that there's a green price action. That is not this price action here. That is actually the inverted version of this previous price action that we saw months before all of this happened. And then during the end of May, June, and leading into July just there, during all of that bearish price action, we had pretty much three distinctive bounces along the bottom just here, three distinctive lows that were actually trending slightly to the downside, as you can see, exactly like what we saw in this green price action, which once again is the inverted version of these three higher highs that we saw earlier in the year. And then after that third low just there, just like after that third high just there, we then saw saw a pump to the upside in the Bitcoin price, which back then was a dump in the Bitcoin price, straight into this top just here where we saw a small little pullback and then further upside price action, just like the inverted version back here during May. And then what came next in the Bitcoin price was basically quite a lot of sideways price action. And what's really interesting about this inverted fractal that is playing out on the chart is the fact that the dump that we've seen around 2 days ago just here was actually exactly where we saw a dump in the fractal. So if this giant inverted fractal continues to play out as it has over the past half a year nearly, then this simply suggests that we could see a recovery as early as around a week from now, which is not too far off with what I was saying earlier in the video about recoveries. Once again, I would expect the recovery to at least take around a week or two. So basically, if the Bitcoin price can get back up towards around 50,000 and even slightly above 50,000 by the end of next week, so once again, around 1.5 weeks from now, then this fractal continues to play out, and that also suggests some more sideways price action even after a recovery. Now, once again, this is a bit of a stretch. Don't take this as an exact prediction or anything. I just thought, well, I haven't really seen anyone else talk about this, and because I've spotted it in the chart, I might as well lay it out on the table to give you guys everything that I am currently seeing. And if you appreciate that, make sure to drop a like on the video down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to this channel with notifications turned on so that you're not missing out on any of these future updates. And for those that already follow me on Twitter, you would already know about this because, as you can see, I sent out this tweet about this scammer that is actually copying my Twitter profile. This is the scammer in question. I've had to actually sign out of Twitter so I can actually see the accounts because this scammer has blocked my accounts. But as you can see here, if you actually look really careful in the Twitter handle just here, they actually used the capital letter I instead of a lowercase L in the middle of this Twitter handle, once again, which is pretty much how they've actually got my username. So this account with around 7,000 followers on Twitter is a complete scammer. So please be careful of all of the scams out there. As far as my official social media, I only have one Twitter account, and that is in the link in the description. You will only find my official Twitter linked in the description down below. Right now, I don't actually have any other social medias. I'll let you guys know if I do make other social medias. And also in the YouTube comments section down below, if you get anything like a phone number or an email or a Telegram or a WhatsApp, anything like that, that is a scammer. I will not be contacting you and asking for your crypto. If you get anything like that, once again, it is a scammer. So please be careful out there. But anyway, that's really everything I have to say for this video. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.